Black just played. Knight c4 check. Pause the video to figure out white's next move. Knight takes c4. King takes c4. King d2. King d4. Pawn g6. White might go for pawn takes h7 and dominate the board. Pawn takes g6 move preferred by black. Pawn takes g6. King takes e4. Pawn g7. White is aiming to play pawn promotes to queen at g8 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn b2 was chosen by black. Pawn promotes to queen at g8. Pawn promotes to knight at b1 check. Black is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game. White just played. On a3 pause the video and try to predict black's next move. On e3. Black might go for on e2. King g2. Pawn promotes to queen at e1 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Pawn takes e3 was chosen by white. Pawn takes e3. King f1. Knight e5. Knight d6. Pawn e2 check. King f2. Knight f3. King takes f3. Pawn promotes to queen at e1. Black is aiming to play queen e5. King g2. Queen e2 check. King g3. King e3 and secure a strong hold in the game. King f4. White is on the verge of defeat. Let's go to the next game. Black played. King f5 pause the video and try to find white's next move. King c6. White's idea is to play King b7. King e4. King takes a8 and secure a strong hold in the game. King e4 played by black. On d5. King e5. On d6. King e6. On d7. White considers playing pawn promotes to queen at d8 and establish a winning position. King e7 played by black. King b7. King takes d7. King takes a8. King e6. Black is struggling to keep up. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. King b7 pause the video to analyze white's next move. King takes c5. On d3. Black is looking to play on d2. Knight takes h5. Pawn promotes to queen at d1 and sees the initiative. Knight takes d3 was chosen by white. King takes a7. Knight f4. White might go for knight takes h5 and take decisive advantage. King b7 played by black. King d6. White might go for knight takes h5 and seize the initiative. King c8 was chosen by black. King e5. White wants to play knight takes h5 and put immense pressure on the opponent. King d7 move preferred by black. King takes f5. Knight c7. Knight takes h5. King e7. King takes g4. King f7. White is dominating the board. Let's go to the next game. Black just played. Knight h6 pause the video to analyze white's next move. King g5. Knight f7 check. Pawn takes f7. King takes f7. King f5. King g7. King e5. King h6. King d6. White considers playing King c7. On a5. King takes b7. Pawn takes b4. Pawn takes b4 and sees the initiative. King g5 was chosen by black. King c7. On the 5. King takes b7. Pawn takes b4. Pawn takes b4. On c5. Black intends to play pawn takes b4 and take decisive advantage. Pawn takes c5 move preferred by white. King takes h5. White is dominating the board. Let's go to the next game. White just played. Knight takes g7. Pause the video to spot black's next move. King takes g4. King b4. On h5. Knight e8. On h4. Knight takes f6 check. King takes f5. Knight d5. King e4. Knight f6 check. King f4. Knight d5 check. King f3. King c5. On h3. Knight b6. On h2. King d4. Pawn promotes to queen at h1. Black considers playing queen g1 check. King c4. Queen takes b6 and increase their advantage significantly. Knight c4. Black is dominating the board. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. Pawn a5. Pause the video and try to predict white's next move. Knight d5 check. Knight takes d5. King takes d5. King f5. King c4. King f4. King b5. King g3. King takes a5. On g5. On b4. King takes g2. On b5. King takes h3. On b6. On g4. On b7. On h5. On promotes to queen at b8. On h4. Black is outplayed. Let's go to the next game. Black just played. Pawn takes c4. Pause the video and try to predict white's next move. Black is preparing to play pawn c3. Knight c4. Pawn c2. Knight takes a5. Pawn promotes to queen at c1 and sees the initiative. Knight takes c4 played by white. On a4. Pawn takes a4. King d5. Black is aiming to play king takes c4 and gain a significant edge. Knight a3 was chosen by white. King e6. On the 5. Knight b8. Knight c4. White is setting up to play knight e5. On c4. Knight takes c4 and put immense pressure on the opponent. Knight a6 played by black. King f3. White is aiming to play king e4. Knight c7. Knight e5. Knight b5. On a6. On c4. Knight takes c4 and dominate the board. King d5 played by black. Knight e3 check. King d6. King e4. King e6. Knight c4. White considers playing knight e5. On c4. Knight takes c4 and take decisive advantage. Knight b4 move preferred by black. On a3. White is aiming to play pawn takes b4 and increase their advantage significantly. Knight a6 played by black. Knight e5. White's idea is to play knight takes g6 and increase their advantage significantly. On c4 move preferred by black. Knight takes c4. Knight c7. Black has no response. Let's go to the next game. Black made a move. On d4. Pause the video to analyze white's next move. King takes f4. Pawn takes e3. King takes e3. King f8. King d4. King e7. King c5. White intends to play pawn a4. Pawn g5. Pawn takes g6. King f8. King d4. King g7. On a5 and secure a stronghold in the game. King f7 was chosen by black. On a4. White is looking to play. On a5. King e7. On b5. King d8. King b6, and put immense pressure on the opponent. On g5 move preferred by black. On takes g6 check. King takes g6. On b5. King g5. On the 5. White intends to play. On b6. On f5. On a6. On takes a6. On b7, and seize the initiative. On f5 was chosen by black. On a6. On b6 check. King d4. On f4. King e4. White is aiming to play. On a7. On f3. King takes f3, and put immense pressure on the opponent. On f3 was chosen by black. Black is preparing to play. On f2. King d5. On promotes to queen at f1, and increase their advantage significantly. King takes f3 move preferred by white. King f5. On a7. King e5. On promotes to queen at a8. White's idea is to play. Queen d8. On h5. Queen takes b6, and put immense pressure on the opponent. King d4. White has a strong upper hand. Let's go to the next game. White made a move. Knight takes f4 check. Pause the video to analyze black's next move. King g3. Black is preparing to play. King takes f4, and establish a winning position. Knight d3 played by white. King takes f3. King d4. On e2. Knight e5 check. King g2. Black is planning to play. Pawn promotes to queen at e1, and seize the initiative. Knight d3 was chosen by white. King f1. King e5. On h4. Black wants to play. On h3. King e6. On h2. King f6. On promotes to queen at h1, and take decisive advantage. King f4 was chosen by white. On h3. Black is setting up to play. On h2. King e5. On promotes to queen at h1. King d6. Queen h6 check, and put immense pressure on the opponent. King g3 move preferred by white. On promotes to queen at e1 check. Knight takes e1. King takes e1. On c5. On h2. Black is planning to play. Pawn promotes to queen at h1, and dominate the board. King takes h2 move preferred by white. King f2. King h1. King e3. King g2. King d4. King f3. King takes c5. King e3. White's loss is confirmed. Let's go to the next game.